Peace and love, family. Welcome to U.S. Political Prisoners and You, brought to you by the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition and EPPC on Black Power Media. If this is your first time being on Black Power Media, thank you for being on our platform. Yes, this is our platform. It is a platform that is needed to control our narrative. As we engage in this propaganda war, we have to have something that reflects who we are and what we're trying to do. So I encourage you to encourage others to subscribe to our platform. This belongs to us. And I am very grateful to our brother Kalanji for the opportunity to speak about a serious matter. That matter is political prisoners. How do we relate to our political prisoners? What are we doing? Are we writing to political prisoners? Are we struggling to write to political prisoners? Is it even just even is it even an idea in our head, to write to a political prisoner? Is it important to us? Just a couple of ideas that I wanted to put out there before I engage in this discussion. Today is day 15 of April, which is Jazz Appreciation Month. So I hope that you are appreciating jazz music. I hope you find a nice jazz station to listen to, and I hope that you reflect on the importance of jazz and how it has helped us, people of color, humanity in general, to advance, to dig deeper into themselves about what's going on, and to decide what needs to be done, and doing a deeper analysis of yourself and the conditions that you are living in, that we are living in, that we all have to deal with on one level or another. If you're looking for some reading material that deals with the history of jazz, this book is in my library by Leroy Jones. Mary Baraka. It's called Blues People. I found it very important, very amazing, very informative, because it gives you the development of music, what is what, and how it became what is called, right? So when I say what is what, I'm talking about the concept of blues music, the concept of jazz music, and who put those ideas, who put that label on it. So that book is very important to have in our library. So today we're focusing on John Coltrane. All right, so I'm going to get into a brief reading about John Coltrane. This is on Wikipedia, and if I'm saying anything that you want to challenge, please do your own research and just come back at me, and let's exchange ideas, thoughts about what I put out there, so that we could get better in terms of raising our awareness about our participants in our struggle for the right to be self-determined. And he is one of our participants, one of our combatants in the struggle to secure our right to self-determination. So John William Coltrane, born September 23rd, 1926. He transitioned in July 17th, 1967, was an American jazz saxophonist, band leader, and composer. He is among the most influential and acclaimed figures in the history of jazz and 20th century music. Born and raised in North Carolina, Coltrane moved to Philadelphia after high school, where he immersed himself in the local jazz scene, studied music, and served in the Navy toward the end of World War II. Before making his professional debut in 1945, working in the bebop and hard bop idioms early in his career, Coltrane helped pioneer the use of modes and was one of the players at the forefront of free jazz. He led at least 50 recording sessions and appeared on many albums by other musicians, including trumpeter Miles Davis and pianist Thelonious Monk. Over the course of his career, Coltrane's music took on an increasingly spiritual dimension, as exemplified on his most acclaimed album, A Love Supreme, 1965, and others. Decades after his death, Coltrane remains influential, and he has received numerous posthumous awards, including a special Pulitzer Prize, and was canonized by the African Orthodox Church. Now, there's more information on his life, but, I'm going to respect the time that I have to do this particular episode. So I just want to lay out that as we proceed with the further course in this food for thought discussion, a discussion that is necessary for us to raise our consciousness about our political prisoners, about the need to do the work to free our political prisoners. So those who are viewing, please share with your contacts, as many as possible. Encourage them to also share with other contacts, encourage them to write to a political prisoner. And if you wrote to a political prisoner and you got a response from a political prisoner, please share with me. That's why I'm always providing my contact information, because I want to be accessible. I want you to understand that this work requires all of us doing our part, doing our job, and even accepting criticism, such as myself. I have to do better with writing to political prisoners. I know I'm waiting for Ronald Reed to write me back. Waiting for Mumia to write me back. These are two people that I wrote and haven't written me back. For whatever reason, I know I can only imagine what they're going through. So I don't take that personal, but I know that I have to still stay focused on that. And I have to follow up with another letter and just continue to do this work. So when I'm involved in a number of things like workshops on political prisoners, or just responding to a text about somebody, I can give an answer that's more informative. So in my preparation of this discussion on our beloved heroine, John Coltrane, and his contribution to our right to self-determination, I was looking at this documentary on his life called Chasing Coltrane. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you do so, especially during Jazz Appreciation Month, because you reflect deeper into the artist and you start to understand why he did what he did and what propelled him to take things to another level. They say that, he started off, he wasn't that good. He spent a lot of time practicing, and he just got better and better. He dealt with contradictions, and he dealt with it in the hardest way that you can deal with it, right? If you have a substance abuse addiction, to go turkey is very hard, and it's even very dangerous because of the biological reliance you have on that substance. But John Coltrane did it because he wanted to present himself better to his people. He wanted to be a contribution to his people. His background came in the religion of Christianity, so he understood what it was to be accountable. He was growing up in a time in the South where segregation was prominent. And I can only imagine what he's seen, and I can only imagine how he felt about what he's seen. And so for him to be a musician, it was obviously something that he took on to make a contribution to humanity. And that's why this documentary is so powerful. It's important because you have a number of artists speaking on it. You have fellow jazz musicians. You have hip hop artists, Common. I thought that was very important to have a number of different musicians on this particular documentary, because it allows you to see how he influenced them, to see what he did. So you had certain people speaking about him making a transition from playing the saxophone to actually writing music. And that allowed me to understand why he was becoming more serious about his craft. He wanted to make a greater contribution to his people. Right, he wanted them to hear his music and transform them, because in this particular documentary, it speaks on music transforming people. And I think about the role of a revolutionary, a professional revolutionary, going to the community, talking to the community, knocking on doors, conducting community forums, being in a corner with a bullhorn, speaking to the community, letting the community know that there's an issue that we all need to face. And how do you relate to that issue? And he's a musician, and he's utilizing his skill as a musician to raise awareness about things that's going on in somebody's life. But at the same time, how do you relate to your reality? What are you going to do that's going to change your reality? Right? Maybe he's not saying that the same way I'm saying it, but there's a reason why he's perfecting his craft. There's a reason why he's being as serious as he is when it comes to being a saxophonist. There's a reason why he's going cold turkey. There's a reason why he's becoming a musician and starting to write music, because he wants to be his best. And that's what the revolutionary is, right? Professional revolutionary, our political prisoners. You think about Mumia Abu-Jamal, April is his birthday month, April 24th. And he's still strong. He's speaking. He's doing things that he knows is necessary to help his people advance, right? So he's writing books, he's speaking on current issues, which lets me to relate the two, right? Mumia and John Coltrane, both seeing the world from their perspective, both asking themselves questions. How can I make a contribution to people, to civilization, to people of African descent, people who are going through hardships, right? People who are dealing with racism, dealing with exploitation, dealing with oppression. What can I do? What can I contribute? Mumia writes, John Coltrane makes music, makes melodies. He makes Love Supreme. And these music that he's making are affecting people differently. And it's very important to understand the time period, right? He's born in 26, passes away in 67. Think about what we're going through as a people. He's a baby, obviously, in 26, so he's not conscious about what's going on. But as he becomes a young adult, he's able to understand things a whole lot more. He passes away in 67. So throughout his 40 years, he's experiencing some things. He's seeing some things, and he's using his music to reflect on how he feels about it, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's expressing his feelings in his music, and his feelings are a reflection of love. You know, thinking about album, A Love Supreme. You know, how do you express love at that level? The revolutionary understands commitment and sacrifices. The political prisoner understands commitment and sacrifices. John Coltrane is committed to studying his craft. He's committed to doing what is necessary. In the documentary, it says that he was somewhere practicing, and somebody said stop making all that noise. And so he starts playing, and then he's going through the different notes on his fingers. So he's getting his rhythm together. He's not giving up. So the practice is continuous. And that reminds me of political education. You know, if you were here where I'm at conducting this podcast, you'll see the amount of books that I have. If you looked in my wallet, you'll see a number of library cards that I have. So I want to make sure that I have access to a number of books, a number of materials that helps me advance my ideas, helps me to be clear and sharper on speaking on certain matters, because we live in a time where people want accuracy and people want things quick. So you don't have that much time, some people anyway. And those people who want things extremely fast, and those people who are not relating to what you're talking to in a way that you would like them to, those people may not be a target at that time. Yes, there might be another time where you can go back to those conversations, and then you can expound on what you were denied speaking about, and then now you have a greater chance of winning them over to political prison. But my point is that we have to make an assessment about what's going on, and we got to see where we can fit in. What can we do at what particular time? So looking at this documentary, it was over an hour, I think an hour and 39 minutes, but it really dissects his life. You have his family talking about him. You have other musicians talking about him, and they're telling you about what he did and how he got better and how he got sharper and how he presented something to the world that's still talked about to this day in 2026. We're talking about his body of work. And it took a lot of time for him to get to it, but he continued to evolve. He continued to develop. And he did that by exploring things, by studying music. And the revolutionary does the same thing, continues to explore music, explore contradictions, deals with contradictions. And for him to go cold turkey, for him to do that, made me look at him in a whole different perspective, made me realize that, he understood the burden that his addiction, his vices was putting on him. And he knew that he had to do something about it. And our political prisoners understand that there are things going on within them that they need to deal with. And, some of them deal with that. And some of them understand for them to give us their best, they have to eradicate those contradictions. They have to be very serious about examining them. So that makes me think about what's going on with Mumia Abu-Jamal and his health issues. He's putting the word out to his team, to his defense committee, to all those who are in solidarity with him and not just sympathetic about what he's going through, but willing to make phone calls, willing to do the necessary organizing to make sure that he gets his medical treatment. And that is a contradiction, right? It's not the same contradiction that Coltrane has, but he realizes that he has to do something about what's going on with him if he wants to give his best version of himself to his people. Because that's the only way you're going to aid to the advancement of your people is by presenting your best forward, by doing what is necessary to continue to advance ideas. So on this day of Jazz Appreciation Day, we appreciate John Coltrane. We appreciate his contribution. We appreciate him just not being comfortable with observing things and being sympathetic. He's internalizing issues that's going on and asking himself, what can he do? And it's expressing his music. And that makes me come to the point that I'm coming to now, which is the formation of the melody Alabama. Now, in the documentary, it says that he was influenced by Martin Luther King's giving a eulogy for the 4 little girls that were assassinated by this racist. And so he was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, and that compelled him to construct Alabama. If you haven't heard Alabama, you need to hear it as soon as possible, because it is a very a strong melody. It's very deeply thinking, inspiring, right? It inspires you to think deeper about what's going on. And, you know, when I listen to this, it always makes me think about that time period. It always makes me think about how did it impact others, right? You're hearing Martin Luther King's speech, you're hearing Alabama. Now it allows you to understand that this problem, this attack on these 4 innocent little girls was not just an attack on their family, right? It was an attack on a whole people, right? A whole community, a whole nation, a whole population. And so you start to ask yourself, what are you going to do? So now you're starting to listen to Dr. King a whole lot differently. You're starting to listen to people who have an issue with what's going on and who are willing to do something about it. You're starting to listen to them a whole lot differently because the intensity is magnified. Little girls were killed. Now that happened, how are you impacted by that? How are you affected? Do you just say that's messed up? Or do you just say a prayer? Do you just meditate? Do you just have a discussion with your family? Or you make necessary phone calls? This time when somebody's giving out a leaflet, you actually grab it. You actually look at it. You actually see what happened, why it happened, and what we need to do. You actually find yourself willing to participate in the struggle for the necessary change, right? Obviously, the assassination of these 4 little girls wasn't the first time that Black people were assassinated by racists. But you ask yourself, when does it stop? And if this is not the worst of the worst, then what is? And our political prisoners, they are at the front line of fighting back. They are a strong expression of resistance. They are what is necessary for us to be liberated, for us to be free of attacks on us because of the color of our skin, attacks on us because of our social status. Whatever the reason is, obviously it's not justifiable. So we got to ask ourselves, what is our relationship to injustice? What is our relationship to the ongoing oppression that continues to plague our people? We got to do historical lessons. We have to have historical lessons, We have to engage in political education. We have to get deeper into ourselves. And that's why I appreciate jazz so much. I appreciate the song Alabama, because it allows us to get deeper into ourselves. It allows us to ask ourselves these serious questions about what was happening during that time and what role was people playing who had a problem with what was going on. They were okay with it or not okay with it. And if they were not okay with it, what did they do about it? John Coltrane contributed Alabama to what was going on at that time. He had enough. And he wanted his music to express the fact that he had enough. And he wanted others to be transformed by his music. Because if you're looking at how the music is constructed, it's taking you through different phases of your personal development. And his music is a contribution to our transformation, right? What type of transformation are we having? I think that that's a transformation that each individual goes through differently. I think individual goes through the transformation of being sympathetic to asking themselves, what can they do? How far are they willing to go? We look at Martin Luther King. He's taking a position, fighting back. He recognizes racism as a disease, and those who are practicing racism have a disease, and he's doing something about it. He's organizing people, and he's raising criticism about those people who were not actually participating in this struggle, this fight, especially people of the clergy. And I think that when John Coltrane puts together Alabama, he is putting himself out there, and he's being an example of the power that musicians have. He's being an example of what we need to do with our talent, right? We say that culture is a weapon. Jazz is an expression of that culture, right? We need weapons to have power, to be empowered. And jazz is one of those weapons. And Coltrane understood that very clearly when he put together Alabama addresses the issue. It allows you to internalize what's going on. And then I think at the end, it asks the question in this way, what are you going to do? Or are we prepared for what's coming next? So all components are necessary in our liberation struggle. All components are necessary to bring home our freedom fighters. Martin Luther King Jr. was a political prisoner. He was a captured freedom fighter. And we have to ask ourselves, did that stop during his time? No, it didn't. Fast forward 2026, we still have political prisoners. We have people like Ronald Reed. We have people like Mumia Abu-Jamal. We have people like Kamal Siddiqui. I was at a meeting around the campaign to free Kamal Siddiqui, and I was asking his daughter about his likes in music, because I wanted to make sure that I gave him some coverage during the time of this discussion. And she said that, yes, he liked jazz, but his favorite music or his favorite group was The Temptations. So just to know that he liked jazz, I asked myself, what influence did jazz have on him? I know that you have our political prisoners. When they were out in the street, when they were out in the community and they were organizing, I know that that was stressful times. So I can only imagine the impact that jazz had on them to maintain their stress. If they are on the run, if they are are just being low key with their movements, I can only imagine the influence and the power that jazz had on their lives, because it settles you. It allows you to sharpen your analysis about what's going on. It allows you to be calm. It allows you to refrain from erratical behavior. That, and along with other things that you're doing, your diet, your meditation, your ability to breathe right, all these are factors into you advancing as a better freedom fighter. For you to be able to deal with people, a number of contradictions going on. You're talking to the community, people who have poor diets, people who are not physically fit, people who are going through a number of ailments in their lives, and you're trying to talk to them about the origin of these particular problems and the fact that we have to address these issues ourselves, that nobody nowhere is going to come and change our social conditions, that we got to do it on ourselves. We got to do it like our political prisoners. We got to be accountable. We got to be responsible. We got to accept that role. We got to accept that responsibility. And it's ongoing, right? Today is no different than yesterday. The only difference is that today we have more experiences, or we benefit off the experiences that we had yesterday. So we need to be thankful for that. We need to utilize those experiences and contribute to our people better, contribute to the fight, to the organizing of our political prisoners, because all of this is the same fight, right? You can't talk about being liberated and you don't have your political prisoners liberated. You can't talk about anything without talking about political prisoners, because this is a part of that struggle for the right to be self-determined. And our political prisoners understood that extremely well. And they accepted the role, they accepted the responsibility to organize for our people. And John Coltrane is an example of giving your people your best, right? He did what was necessary. He went from different bands until he eventually had his own band. Now he can express himself at a higher level. Now he can advance, he can make things, he can be more creative in terms of his contribution, because he obviously had respect for other musicians, their talents, their time that it took for them to get at that level, because you have hours of practicing. You're practicing with people that you are playing with, so you could be in sync. And that's what political education does for us. We have a number of people that we might have political education with. We might just have one person, such as myself. I got one person that I have political education with. We talk, we have a discussion on a particular reading, and we connect that to what we intend to do with what we're reading. We connect that with what's going on within time. And I say that to say this, that if you're a jazz musician, study the history of jazz. How did jazz come into being, right? It was people of African descent expressing their frustrations, people of African descent deciding that they needed an outlet. So you, as a jazz musician, you have that responsibility to connect to the past. You have that responsibility to make a contribution to the struggle of people who are oppressed. Make a contribution for their liberation, because that is why jazz was created. And every time I use the term jazz, I think about the reading that I read with Randy Weston, when he didn't even call it jazz, he called it African rhythms. So people of African descent put together this music form, African rhythms, that the corporation comes and put the title of jazz on it. We use that to fight back. We use that to advocate for our right to self-determination. So jazz musicians today, you have that responsibility, or at least you should. Because how do you know about political prisoners and you're not in no fundraising campaign, or no campaign period to raise funds for political prisoners? Yes, we all have our own lives. Yes, we all struggle for the acquisition of food, clothing, and shelter. But there are things that happen to put us in a better situation today than we were in yesterday. And that came through commitment, that came through sacrifices. And our political prisoners, our captured freedom fighters, are those examples. So we need not forget them. We got to make time to talk about them. We got to make time to encourage others to write. We got to make time to do more today than we did yesterday, because we have to pass this work on to another generation at some time. I know at my age, 52, I know I don't have another 52 more years of life, but I know that this struggle is going to go on another 52 years or more. So I have to speak to a younger generation who wants to hear me, right? Because some people see the gray hairs, some people see the wrinkles in my face and say he's old, he's outdated and useless. Why am I going to talk to him? His lifestyle doesn't reflect the lifestyle that I want. And that's cool, that's okay. But then I move on to the next one, right? Eventually, I'm going to find someone or a group of people that are conscious, that are willing to give me a listen, willing to take the time out to see what I'm talking about. Because I'm pretty sure that everybody who listened to John Coltrane was not impressed with what he was doing with his music in terms of experimenting. Certain people probably wanted a different form of jazz, but he knew he had a certain audience that he was targeting. An audience that were into advancing, into being more creative, into developing, into making an assessment of what's going on and doing some deep reflection on how they relate to their oppression. A political prisoner, captured freedom fighter, reflects on their oppression or relates to their oppression at a deeper level. At a level is that I'm not okay with this. I don't accept these conditions as normal, that I have to do something about it. And they're willing to put it all on the line. They're willing to be captured. They're willing to be tortured. They're willing to do or endure anything that's necessary for the advancement of their people, because they love their people. And for me, that means a lot. So I am truly thankful to our captured freedom fighters. I'm truly thankful to John Coltrane. I play John Coltrane just about every day when I work out. His music calms me down. It allows me to focus deeper. So during Jazz Appreciation, listen to more John Coltrane, listen to more jazz, but understand the history and the connection and utilize it to do something strong and positive, like support and join the fight to free our political prisoners, our captured freedom fighters, because nobody gets anywhere without the sacrifices of others. So with that being said, I'm going to end this episode off with that call, free them all.